This isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Chichagash. Buckle in. The show starts now.
And welcome to a brand new episode of Crush This Live. My name is Bradley Shaw, also known as the Monster Truck Knucker, and with me as always, right here, as always, for 5 years already, Mr. Dan Chichagash. Dan, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing good. How's everything going in your guys' world? Getting ready for that four-wheel drive jamboree, and can't complain one bit about everything. We're doing good. Want to thank everyone from High Octane Coffee, J Concepts, Back Channel Productions, 6B Apparel, Marty Garza's Monster Truck Technology Book, JB Scale Graphics, Bradley Shaw Designs, and the Renegade Tour too with Zaner 2.
Yep.
Just to let you know, below the collar, still t-shirts are $20. You got 3 to choose from. Go to 25 t-shirts, and we get up to another design. Also, with 6B Apparel going through us, got the old logo. We got the new one. Our crew shirts are for sale, $100. Just contact, Crush This, myself, online. Then we go straight through 6B Apparel. So, once again, you can have 2 different versions of it. The New Wave or that one. Brad's kind of been falling behind on wearing his uniform the workday. Last 3 episodes missing out. That's okay. Brad does enough work as it is. So,
I just wanted to mention, with the Renegade Monster Truck Tour, they were at Brownstown, Indiana at the Brownstown Speedway this weekend. So go check them out. I will probably be at the Abbottstown, PA events, Lincoln Speedway, presented by Dryden Performance Products. That's a big deal for Zane and the gang. So I will be flying out to Pennsylvania. So if anybody wants to come, hang out, hey, I'm going to be there.
Actually do. If you have a chance to see Brad, go ahead and give him a shout out.
It's going to be rare that I'm going to be in the States for a show. So it's
right.
Is a rare
opportunity. Give him a chance to eat some Dunkin' and some Wawa.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to give you some Wawa there, bud.
Yeah, get that going. But, we have a pretty cool guest for this episode. And, him and his dad ran the wheels off of their trucks from, the beginning of the team started around the mid-90s, became a very competitive team all the way up to the 2013. He ran, I believe, in the Monster Jam World Finals, ran a lot of the monster truck, the Destruction Tour, the Path of Destruction, and took a name from a previous ownership that was in Delaware, and took that name of the truck and carried it all the way for a touchdown. And it's pretty cool to have him on. He was actually the first person I actually interviewed in one of the college programs I did. I videotaped a show at the local Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Motor Speedway, and his truck was there. And I did an interview with him for the first time, working some videography stuff like that. So we'll get him on right now, and that is Jeremy Slifko. So I'll get him on. Hey, how's it doing, Jeremy?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Another beautiful night here in Alberta, Canada, so can't complain.
Canada, that's where we're moving next, I think.
Oh, where in Canada?
We're not sure yet. We, if you say about coming out to Pennsylvania is a tough state to live in, that's for sure.
Well, hey, come out to Alberta. It's all redneck up here, man. we're like the Texas of Canada. Oil fields, redneck lifted trucks.
That's good. I like that. We'll have to do that. It's funny because we spent a lot of time in Canada with the truck. It's as much as it's very similar to the States, it is very different in some ways that seem to be better, I would say.
It always depends on like what provinces you go to. If you're on the east coast of Canada, like Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, they're their own kind of breed. They're their own special. Like I'm related to like my mom's from Nova Scotia and everything, so it's a whole different breed. Out like in British Columbia, it's potheads and stoners. You know, it's all what it is. So, but no, it's but you know, let's start at the beginning. You know, lots of people know your dad for driving Eradicator for many years. You know, raced in the Pro MT series, raced in the stuff with TNN Monster Jam in the early days of that stuff. So, how did you want to drive growing up or being around your dad with this kind of stuff, or was it like you wanted to do something else? But then, how did everything kind of happen with you coming into the sport?
You know, it's funny. A lot of people don't really understand how I got started in the whole driving portion of it. And really tell you the truth, up until I drove the first time in Naples, Florida, I had no interest in driving. I like working on stuff. That's my big thing. Like, you know, I guess there's a lot to being able to stand back and watch something that you put together run and stay together. You know, was a big part of me growing up is I wasn't old enough to drive or do anything like that. So I went into it, you know, mechanically because that's really what my passion is. And, you know, it's funny because when I first drove in Naples, the only reason I drove there was because John Killinger actually missed his flight and we had to put somebody in the seat. And I was the only other person that knew the truck.
Wow, that's crazy, and the ball rolled from there. You know, the time when you drove at Maples, what got you going? Okay, I'll just maybe continue on this ride instead of being like, hey, I'm gonna drop down and I'll be the crew chief for these two trucks.
Really, tell you the truth, you know, to backstep a little bit, like. When I was younger, that was like the biggest thing is like it was just so cool to be able to take it apart and put it back together, and then you know it was just a big family environment at that time in our corral, and you know when I drove that first time, you know I really started to understand the truck itself, and you know I actually sat back and thought. You know, I put all the hours and all the time in to keep these things running. Why can't I be the guy to go out there and thrash this thing? And really tell you the truth, at that time, I could care less what anybody thought about how I drove, no matter if I didn't get air or not. You know, it was just so rewarding to work all week and then get in that thing and then run it. And really tell you the truth, no matter how bad you did, people still cheered. And, you know, that's a very addictive thing, you know, and go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, you know, we talked to a lot of guys that have been crew guys and then went on to driving. Do you think starting out as a crew guy, learning the truck back and front, up and down, you know, knowing every single piece of that truck, transitioning into driving, do you think that makes them a better driver?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because I'm going to tell you right now, I was not a spectacular driver, but the thing for me was that I understood that if the truck was leaning this direction, you know, you could tell if the left rear corner was spongy, so you knew if you had a shock down or if the sway bar was twisted or, you know, you just knew that. Or like your first instinct was, you know, if you lost first gear was just stay in high gear, you know, and a lot of people that just got into driving, they really had a very steep learning curve at that time to really understand what the truck was doing. So when you work on them, you understand like what smells like what. So you smell gear oil, so you know you got something going down in the drivetrain, or you smell transmission fluid. You know the transmission's getting hot, so you got to kind of stay away from it. You know, or vice versa. You know, I really hate to say this, but you start feeling cylinders go away, and you really understand what you have to do to the truck to get the outcome.
So, and with the truck that you originally drove, you did a lot of changes. That was your dad's second truck, correct? The original PEI truck that you guys. made popular in, and then your dad drove I think the J&B chassis truck. But you did so many different changes to that truck, but the truck itself seemed like in time got better and better and more durable with you putting parts and etc. on the vehicle itself. What learning curves did you learn while driving that truck around?
Tell you the truth, that chassis went under the knife more times than ever. Like, we used to tear the trucks down once a year. A lot of people don't realize, like, we had a pretty rigorous program. Like, in November, we'd tear the trucks down to nothing. We didn't repowder coat chassis every year, but we tore them down to almost nothing and went through them and made changes. So, what's funny to touch on that is the chassis got better and the truck got better. It's funny that a chassis could be, at the time I drove it was over, 10 years old at that time, a little more than that. But, that truck had been abused. My dad smashed a cage in on that truck quite a few times. And the biggest thing I can tell you is, as you go along, sometimes it's not about having the newest equipment. It's about understanding the equipment you're working with.
Yeah.
When you drove that in that show at Naples, did you have any prior, seat time? Did you, be able to get behind the wheel once or twice before that? Or was that the very first time was like, okay, I'm doing a show?
Actually, to tell you the truth, I only ran over cars one time before that. And we were at a little fair show in Maine. I don't remember who it was or where it was, but what I do remember is when we first came out with the JV chassis for my dad's truck, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "One day you're going to have to drive a truck, and it's not going to be under your own recognizance." He said, "So I think you need to get in it and, just kind of go over the cars one time." And, all my life, all I heard my dad talk about is, you got to really have a head of steam to get over the cars. And, you don't want to get stuck on them. You'll cut tires, you'll bend wheels, you do all this stuff. So I really underestimated what the truck really was capable of. And you guys will laugh. I come through the fence. I was probably, 40 yards from the cars. I just laid that thing to the wood and grabbed high gear. And that was it was funny because it didn't really hurt. I turned around and came back. And when I got out, they're like, "Are you all right?" "Yeah, I'm all right." They're like, "You just don't understand." I don't know if I still have the picture or not, but I probably had 15 foot of air under that truck.
I like asked our guests, like, was it one of those situations like, I got so much air, you got a foot, but with you, it's like, you got all the air.
Well, it's funny because it's reversed. Like, then when I finally drove a truck in competition, the truck felt like I was jumping Empire State Building, and they're like, "Yeah, you barely got any air," and I'm like, "There's no way." But the biggest thing I can tell people want to know what it's like to drive a truck. And when you first start driving, it's like taking a Volkswagen and driving into a curb at 70. So, but really, tell you the truth is, as you get more into it, it's just like anything. You get used to that initial jolt, and then that's really, I think, why you see a lot of guys come out and they go big, and then all of a sudden that's all they're doing, is because you're looking for that beating, when you hit that first car and you don't get it. You just keep putting harder and harder, and then really what happens is they usually say it's usually not the takeoff that hurts, it's usually the landing that kills you. And that's the truth.
There's one thing I liked about your driving style, especially in freestyle, is how you raise the bar, meaning you start in the beginning of the run, you have momentum, you work it, and then towards the end of your freestyle, you're doing something crazy. And how did you always consistently do that, not go in your head like, "Oh, I'm just going to go straight out big," and you had a consistent flow, and I really liked it because of how technical you had your freestyle going. How did you keep that mentality for your freestyle runs?
Really tell you the truth is, it's the dynamic of that. Yeah, I worked on the trucks and I did all that, but my dad always had the final say. So I really wouldn't get, I don't want to say it's the wrong way, but I would get in trouble if I just went out there and bonsai'd something and destroyed the truck. You know, he'd look at me and go, "Is that really worth the 5 seconds you were in that thing?" You know, and I started to realize that, you know, talking to other people and just kind of in a whole realizing that, you know, people are spending their hard-earned money. You know, maybe it took them 6-8 months to get that money together to come to an event. And, you know, I felt that, you know, you owe it to them, really, is what you do. Because you really, who's gonna think it's cool to be out there riding around in a big truck, you know, and not really have anybody there to watch? And sorry to get off topic, but the original part of the question is, then I realized that, you know, that's what it's about. It's about going out there, getting people warmed up, and then you just got to really just lay it on in the end and take your chances. You know, I saw too many guys fall too early, and, you know, yeah, they were great first hits, but, you know, I didn't work all week to go out there and, you know, run for 20 seconds and then destroy something.
It's kind of like, you know, relating into like pro wrestling terms. I'm a pro wrestling fan. You know, you want to build a match where it's, you know, kind of slower at the beginning, and you want to build it up to that crescendo, and that's the same as like you were mentioning, like with a run. You want to, you know, have it kind of, you know, try to get like a wow movement in, you know, the first, you know, little bit, but then, you know, you find out, you know, you got like 30-40 seconds left. That's probably when you turn it on a little bit more and kind of give those fans some of those wow moments.
Right. And, you know, it's funny because I'll give you guys a little behind the scenes on it. Is there's a lot of like summertime shows that I would go to, and right away we would start, I don't want to say I'd get some static from other people. Oh, here we go. He's going to run like it's on TV. It's not TV. And it's like, yeah, but you don't understand, man. You know, I'm here to drive the truck. I'm passionate about what I do. And, you know, these people, even though these people only paid $15 to get in here, they still paid money to come see us.
Yeah. And,
you know, and that was a big driver for me, because that really kind of made me want to run harder, because, you know, it wasn't about money for me. It wasn't about the notoriety. It wasn't about any of that. Really, honestly, when you strip it down to the end, is we had a very, very tight family unit at the shop that, you know, people worked all week with us, and then, you know, they didn't want to see you come home and go, "Oh, well, there's nothing to fix. So how hard could you have run?" You know, and you don't want to disappoint them.
What's the saying goes? Don't matter if it's a $50 ticket or a $10 ticket, you still give them a $100 ticket show.
That's it. You know, and the same thing is, though, I'm getting just as much satisfaction out of it as they are. Like, you know, if I wanted to go ride around in a 1,500 horsepower, you know, truck or car or something like that, I'd have a show car in the garage. But, you know, the point of the matter is, I needed them people in the stands as much as they needed us on the track. And, you know, that's really what drove me, is that I just was so passionate about it that I wanted to drive that truck as hard as I worked on it to make it worth my while and theirs.
Yeah, I think that's totally awesome and stuff like that. You know, and with your show mentality, that led you to some awesome accomplishments, like be part of the World Finals 12 and some of the Path of Destruction shows. Man, how was your experience with that?
You know, it was crazy, because honestly, you know, the era that I grew up in monster trucks was kind of like a magical time. You know, you could be anybody from anywhere, and, you know, if you had a little ingenuity, you could put a truck together and go out and run. And then when I started to drive, it was kind of at that point yet, but it really, what it was, it started really changing into, I don't want to say not a legitimate sport, but it really started to take off with people outside of, you know, four-wheel drive stuff and other things. You had, you know, doctors and lawyers and all these people that just flocked there, you know. And what was so cool about being a part of the World Finals is. That was a crazy experience. Just that they could take a show and make it a week-long thing. And, it's hard because you go out there and there is such a bar is set so high that the first time you're there, it's going to go one or two ways.
So one question that I have is, the fire truck style body. I think that was one of the most unique bodies, and still is one of the most unique bodies that a team has come out with. What led you guys to going with? I believe it was an international cab. How did you guys come up with that idea and the identity for the Backdraft name?
Really, tell you the truth, a lot of that dealing was done when I was a kid, but my father had purchased the name from Rick Disharoon, and really the back half body design was Rick's. I want to say Rick's design, and what we did though is Rick had it built out of aluminum and steel structure, and then we took it and turned it into a fiberglass structure, and then from there, it's not that half-ton and three-quarter-ton trucks aren't fire trucks, but we wanted to do something crazy, and then that's when we built that International. We took 20 inches out of the center of the cab, and then it got chopped another 10 inches, and that was a very, very proud moment in our shop that everybody at home worked so hard to get that thing put together, and it turned out well. It really did. And God rest his soul, Mike Thompson, he was a big part in building that truck. In that body, he did all the body work on the original steel cab that we took the mold from. And people don't realize that like doing that type of stuff, you're in the moment, but at that point in time, we were just kind of rolling on with it, and you had to keep innovating things. So we thought that was a great idea. And the biggest addition, I think, that solidified Backdraft as a truck is when Wheel and Engineering come on as a sponsor with us. And, they are a crazy, great company to work with. They really take care of their employees. Everything's American made. And the testament to their stuff, the original Backdraft that was still the PEI chassis, all the lighting was on that truck was still from the original batch they gave us. So, that's a testament to what really, really kind of product they built, and I felt reflected our efforts in trying to make something, decent out of it.
So I was going to talk about the latest or your last Backdraft truck, but I wanted to go a little bit step back on the Path of Destruction. I think also in the World Finals, I would like to talk about the white Backdraft body, which a lot of people kind of loved. But I believe that body was kind of an omen to you, wasn't it? It was a bad luck body, or was it actually? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I can tell you how the stories go. Is we wanted to do something crazy for going to Vegas, and really what ended up happening, before that, we got hooked up with Randy Overson, and he built us some axles that we were testing, and they worked out great. And we went to Vegas, and we had another brand spindle on the truck, and we ended up breaking it. And then we didn't destroy the body. So the idea was that, that was a 3-stage paint job. That was a white pearl paint job. So my dad said, he's like, look, we gotta destroy this thing. He said, we're not going to spend all this time painting something and, not see it get used. And really, tell you the truth, I think that was it. It was just a bad omen, because we went from there, we went to Baltimore, we lost the transmission, and we had a whole bunch of problems there, and then that just followed us through.
Man, that's crazy with the body stuff like that. But we're gonna go further along with that latest international truck. I remember when you were talking about it at Pittsburgh that it was going to be really revolutionized. the truck for a 2013, let's just say, you already were reaching the lines of toughness because the weight and the toughness of that truck is probably now everyone's catching up with. And explain about that truck and your ideas with it, because that truck was really tough.
Yeah, it's funny because at the time, Feld and them were incorporating thicker tubing here and there, and they were doing a lot of stuff, and their trucks last, and they have a lot of hours in R&D to be able to get that far. And we sat down with J&B from J&B Chassis, and we said, look, we don't really, what we wanted to be able to take it to a stadium event and really drive it in the trailer at the end of the night. And then really what that would do is if you could run a truck that hard in an event and it lasts, you could go all summer and give people a good show and not really cost yourself a lot. So we had a lot of things that we were trying to accomplish with that chassis. Like that truck actually has a double halo bar. That comes from the rock bouncer area of four-wheel drive stuff where they have a double halo bar that's tied together. And, that truck had a lot of quarter wall tubing in it. The shock mounts were crazy on that thing because really initially what we wanted to do is wanted to run dual 4-inch nitrogen shocks on that truck. And, it's not anything that we're going to do now, so I'll let it out of the bag. We were trying to get to a point that the bypasses on the shocks, we were hoping to be able to control them electronically. So say you come around and you're lined up for a jump that you don't think the suspension can handle, you'd be able to dial them in right in the truck and then just take off. And that was a big part of it, and that truck probably had the best engine we ever had built in our lives. That engine probably made 1,700, 1,750. We've always ran relatively low horsepower engines just because they're real easy on themselves. But, that truck was put together to run. And part of me, I wish, things wouldn't have went the way they had to go. And we could have ran that truck a little more and really pushed the development more. We're just a little mom and pop operation. So we're doing all that stuff by hand and trial and error. There's no engineering or CAD or any of the stuff that we're involved in now, wasn't even a factor at that point.
I was about to say, you really put the test on that, I believe, in 2000, I think the winter of 2013 when you debuted that thing in San Antonio, Texas for that 2-day show. And Monster Jam really focused on your truck, and you put a really good test tune on that truck, especially on freestyle, because I believe if I remember the run correctly, the end of your run, you landed on that cage.
Actually, we landed on the right front shock mount, and when it hit, it hit. I'll never forget it. It hit hard. I never hit that hard in my life, and I was like, wow, this thing has got to be a mess. And when we rolled it back over, I couldn't believe it. I just looked around the truck, and it really was a testament at that time to what we were trying to achieve. And, Brian and Joe down there at J&B Chassis, oh my God, them guys worked their tails off on that truck and, really put a lot of beef in that thing. And really, that was the thing is when you're talking about the older truck versus the newer truck and some of that stuff. And, if that truck could have been at the point that it was fine tuned like the older truck, I think that truck would have really gone, a great distance into being a pain for a lot of people.
Right on. And one thing I did like about what I learned about your truck is also you introduced the not just the heavy duty bead on the sidewall where like people would see. You also did a heavy duty backing plate on the rim also, which made the wheel and tire combo heavy, but I don't ever recall ever seeing you blow out a tire.
Yeah, I only blew out in my entire career. I probably only popped 2 tires, and the funny part is the reason that ring got put on the outside for the bead block was because we did a lot of concrete events at that time. And really, tell you the truth, Feld come to us and said, "Look, you guys got to do something. You guys, you're not hitting the cars perfectly square, and the wheels digging into the concrete, and got to figure something out." And they helped us out on that end and said, "Hey, look, maybe you should try this." And we went that direction, and then we started bending a lot of inside lips of wheels. And a lot of guys at that time were running some 1/4 inch stuff or some thinner, what they call a rock ring on the inside. And, that was the point of that truck, was to make that truck beef. That was what it was about, and that was more inspired from the Kohler camp, I think, than anything, because they have more iron on them trucks, I think, than they got in the Pittsburgh steel mills. That's for sure.
I hear you. We were talking about his recent truck, the one with the international cab. We talked about the history, his ideas, and stuff like that. And we just got done talking about the innovation of the wheels and the strength of them also. So that's where we're at right now.
Here's a question I have, and I've never understood this. Why? Because I know you guys ran them the covers over the shocks, like over the reservoirs and stuff. Why were people running those? I couldn't understand it.
Really, tell you the truth, the reason we ran those was because we never. So you got to realize, like Dennis and all them, they always ran super wide housings, right? And the problem with that is you got to get into galleons, or you're into ZFs, or you're into high dollar equipment. And our entire program was built on Clark Planetary, so we had a width limit we had to meet. And my dad and I kind of butted heads quite a bit. Our tire rack had to be in the center of the truck, so trucks had to be narrow enough to pass through that rack. So we only ever ran a 42-inch wide housing. And what that does is it tucks the tire right up against the shock. And it happened in Syracuse, New York to me. This is actually a funny story. A guy that helped us out at home with fabrication, it was the only show he ever attended in the, 10 years that he was helping us, in Syracuse, New York. And I took a hard hit on the right rear. And what happened is the tire actually loosened the hydraulic fitting on the shock and let all the oil out.
Oh, wow.
So that's why we ended up putting those huge plates on, because he looked at me and he said, "Look," he said, he was from the dirt track side of things. He said, "When we have a problem, we just fix it, and we fix it good. We don't screw around and try and make something little work." And we've been up them shields, and really, tell you the truth, after that, we never had a problem with a shock like that again.
So since you left the monster truck world, Paul Beer, I cannot pronounce his last name, but got basically your whole fleet, and still running the trucks today. Do you still get a chance to see them? And if you do, how cool is it to still see them running?
Tell you the truth, it's I talked to Paul quite a bit, and the big thing is the General Hazard truck is the original Eradicator chassis. And it's amazing to see, like, that chassis there. You're now talking 2018. In 2008 that chassis was 10 years old, then 18 it was 20. It's a 22-year-old chassis out there that's still getting it. And then to see everything we put together is a testament, because Paul doesn't really have I want to say main part trouble. He has some engine issues and other things, but which is odd, because when we did it, we rarely had any kind of big engine problems. And but other than that, I really, tell you the truth, I think 2 of the trucks, I don't think he's even had the shocks apart on them yet.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
One thing that I've always loved about your guys' team, especially your dad's truck, was his tailgate. As a big man myself, The whole fat guys can fly thing. I love that. I just gotta say that was.
I still have the T-shirt.
That was just so cool, and what was it like in those early days of like the Motor Madness stuff with the TNN Monster Jam days, like was it kind of like being able to see your dad on TV at times, or did you go to a lot of those shows with him?
Tell you the truth, I gotta. There's a lot of people that I probably should talk about, and hopefully we get to talk about them. But one of the biggest people in this whole thing that really made a lot of stuff work is our dad really did a lot with the trucks, but our mom, made sure that we got to see our dad. Like when we were at home, we were very young. We used to watch on TV. We knew the schedule exactly what it was going to be, and we'd sit down, we'd watch the show, and then it was just really surreal that it almost seems like you think it's something that that I don't know how to explain it. It almost doesn't seem real. That your dad is in Texas running on this show, and as we got a little bit older, our dad really made sure that we went along quite a bit, and and that's really something I thought I really wanted to talk about tonight, because it was a big part of my history. Is exactly what you said. Those beginning days in the late 90s, early 2000s of monster trucks was really I wish I was better with words, but it was really a great time to be involved in it.
It was special as a fan too, just because watching even going back into even the Pen to Point series, you're watching something that was evolving so fast. I remember watching the Pen to Point series, and all of a sudden then going to watching USA Motorsports. You were seeing something special happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I guess the biggest thing I could tell you is the first show that we really traveled to, we couldn't go with our dad all the way to San Antonio, Texas. Like that was a huge thing. I still have the ticket. We have all the stuff from that original event, and our mom flew us out there, got a hotel, did everything she needed to do to take care of us. And, the big part of it was like, that was just such an unreal moment in life that like you walk into this, this event, and there it is. There's the truck that sits in your rinky dink little garage behind your dad's automotive shop, sitting there, and it was really just surreal. Like at that moment, I could care less if the guy even made it over the cars. It was just a magical time in that entire career. And then like that was right at the end of, whatever happened with Bigfoot. Then we go out in the parking lot, and then I believe it was Eric Tack at the time. There's Bigfoot tiring down in the parking lot, and at that time there wasn't as much crowd control as there is now. People could just cruise through the parking lot. It just was a really, I think, was the stepping stone to what built Monster Jam to what it is.
And your dad and his truck became a household name, and later on got some pretty cool deals with like Serini, Harley Davidson, and Burrell. That was with you guys for a long time, and it was pretty cool seeing them make the story about your dad's Harley. Was that custom made by them, or there's a picture somewhere that you guys had? I think it was in Miami, and it had him as his truck and his bike. And I always thought that was a pretty cool picture.
Really, what's funny is, and this is what's so great about monster trucks, is the community is so fabulous in a whole, because the Serini Harley Davidson, how that deal actually started, we were very young at the time. I don't remember the fella. He had a truck at the time, turned down the display for, at the time was, I believe was Clear Channel, turned down the display at the Harley dealer. And they called us, said, hey, look, you guys are close. Go over there. We want you to do the display. My dad and a guy by the name of Eric Serini, they hit it off. And we didn't ask him for sponsorship. We didn't really get into that part of it. And, Eric said, look, I really like what goes on. This is a good thing for our community. He said, how could I help you? And my dad actually said to him, he said, what's better for you, Eric, than to sponsor us with a bike, and we'll take it to shows. And really what happened, we got the bike home, and it is going to be full circle, is Trey Myers is actually the one that did all the paint work on that bike. Serini supplied all the new metal and tins and all that. And, Trey is a master at his craft, and he did a fabulous job on that bike.
One thing that I wanted to touch on is, Pennsylvania has a kind of legendary status in monster trucks. There's so many teams and drivers that have come out of there. Yourself, your dad,
Seesock,
John Seesock, Alex Blackwell, Zane Ratu. There's a lot of teams.
Kid Rarick.
Yeah, Kid Rarick with Thunder Chicken. It's just insane how much drivers and trucks that state has produced.
And really, tell you the truth, the biggest thing I can contribute that to in the beginning is, the 4-wheel drive jamboree at Bloomsburg in the 80s and the 90s. That was another legendary event. People were coming from California and overseas, that's
sorry.
That's okay. It's an infectious situation because you go there and you get to be a little part of it, and then I think the biggest thing that I got to touch on about monster trucks and why PA is big with it is it was just at one time it was just so easy to get into it. You could just a little ingenuity and you could start building something, and it didn't matter how crazy it was. And then you went to a place like Bloomsburg and you displayed the truck for a few years, and then, eventually they'd let you run it, I think that's what makes this sport so great is the person that you're signing autographs for subconsciously knows that, you're just like they are. You're going to work on Monday. And the whole Bloomsburg thing and the PA part of it is, Kid Rarick and them back in the late 80s, he really made a name for himself. And I think that infected some other people around him and really pushed the issue, like the original sudden impact truck, and that stuff kind of just, it touches people and you just want to be a part of it.
So we're talking about, again, the early 2000s and the camaraderie that you guys had. A lot of people sometimes get confused that your dad and John Seesock were two separate teams, but they were traveling together at most of the shows, and or they were convoying over, and it seemed like that helped both you guys out during that time period, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, and in that aspect of it, when my dad first got into it, John was already into it. So he knew the people to talk to. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Just an average person could get hooked up helping somebody, and then you could turn it into doing it. And, like I said, that late 90s, early 2000s era of the monster truck industry was so great because they traveled together. They were separate teams, but they traveled together, and at that time 2-truck teams weren't a big thing, and what was great about it though is they both had their own identities, and I guess helped in the very end of it there is that they were both very good at what they did.
One thing that, I wanted to ask you about, you were part of kind of a youth movement, when you were driving in Monster Jam, and now there's another giant youth movement with guys, Tyler Manning, Ryan Anderson, guys like that. And the skills that they have today with the stoppies and the moonwalks and everything like that. What do you think about all that now? Did you, at the time you were driving, did you think a lot of that stuff was going to be possible? Or were you like, nah, let's see how it's going to go?
I really tell you the truth, right towards the end of my career there, the backflip was just kind of starting to take hold. There were only certain people who were willing to do it. And, I attended an event actually just recently in February. And then what's ironic is just because you don't see us around the industry as much as some other people that are retired, we do go to events. My kids like to go. So, we go to Wilkes-Barre Monster Jam. That holds a special place in my heart. And, we go up there every year. We take all our guys from the shop and we go and it's crazy impressive to watch these guys, really refine something that is known for carnage and horsepower, and take it and stand it on the nose for, 5-10 seconds, it seems like, and not really move. The era that I drove, it was about being flat on the wood and getting as much air as you could and really just to see if you could stick the landing.
So, actually, I wanted to enter this topic. The team itself. You and your dad have a team that you say like you said, your trucks in your backyard, or in the little hut, and you see on television. But the drivers that have came out of your camp, like John Zimmer, John Killinger, you just named him, Alex Blackwell. I know there's a couple other people, Mike Thompson. There's so many of those guys that have worked and wrenched for you and your dad that became awesome drivers. Let's talk about that. That's pretty cool. I would be cool about that.
So we'll kind of go in, I guess, a little more of a timeline-oriented situation. And, John Zimmer was the first full-time driver for my dad's camp, but he had worked a lot around us. And, John and I built this special bond when I was younger. And I listened to the podcast that he was on, and, it touched me that he talked the way he did about us. And, the biggest thing I got to say about John Zimmer is that the man is just supernaturally talented in anything. Like, a lot of people don't realize the same way he talked about it. Like, he was just, a normal guy. He was just a carpenter in Vermont, but a lot of people don't realize he was big into, he rode snowcross back then. And that's another part of it. Like I said, is the late 90s, early 2000s that really, really touched me in a special way because, a couple stories I can tell you about John Zimmer is I never in my life met a man that can recite so many songs off the radio verbatim, and, he just was he's just naturally talented. It didn't matter if it was mechanically, if it was, if it was driving, if it just was anything. Like, the guy could just touch something and just make it run. And like that original PEI chassis that we talked about, he got it when it was just coilovers, and they were wore out coilovers. And, it didn't seem like he did much with it, but I'm going to tell you right now, he was a driving SOB to make that truck run the way he did. And, he was an integral part to getting us to where we were. And I got to say, there was just so much stuff that he did with us that was big in my life. And, like I said, like, I'll never forget driving from a show to another show. And Dan will remember this part of it is when you do a show on Tuesday and then got to do a show on Thursday, and then possibly do one on Friday, them shows come along pretty quick. And, I used to ride along with
for deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's another fellow. But, it was just amazing, working with John. And, like I said, he was just crazy talented. And then like Alex Blackwell, he's another one. He didn't drive a whole lot with us. He drove the truck a couple times, if I remember correctly. I know he drove in Bloomsburg before the event, and Alex is very, very. I gotta see if I use the right word. I don't need you to be using the dump button. He's very calculated in what he does, and I feel that you could have a million different driving styles out there. Like John Zimmer is a natural talent, so the guy just can get in and go. And then like Alex is a very calculated guy. So, every jump and everything he does is a formulation in his mind.
So, since stepping out of the seat, what have you been up to? I know that you and your fiance have a fab shop, No Sweat. Talk about what you've been up to since stepping out of the seats, and a second part of that is, would you like to drive again? Would you like to get behind the seat eventually and see what it's like now?
Yeah, what I can tell you guys about what we got going on now is we have a fab shop. We do industrial work, and I told you guys before that my first passion in life, I shouldn't say real, my first passion was doing mechanical work and doing repair stuff. And, it's funny because I try to tell people about this in the instance of, so our business, we do work for Lowe's Distribution, and we kind of just take a maintenance role on with them. We do some stuff in the shop. We build new parts and, just factory stuff. And the big part of it is, though, when we get a repair job, I hear these guys talking to me and they're like, "Oh my God, I never saw something broke like this. What are you going to do?" And really they got to understand where I came from is, you rip the spindle off in the middle of a field in the middle of nowhere, and excuse my language, but nowhere, Canada. And, there ain't a parts store for 100 miles. So there you are trying to figure out whatever you can use or steal from somebody else to make it work, and then these guys have this huge array of tooling and equipment at their hands. And it's like, look, man, if you could have been in some of the places we've been trying to fix some things, this is really, and this is where No Sweat came from. It's really no sweat.
It's almost like that saying, and pardon my French, making chicken salad out of chicken shit.
What's funny about that? Right when I got done with the trucks, I took an industrial maintenance job for a little while, and a guy I worked with, that was his go-to saying, making chicken salad out of chicken shit. That was his big thing.
So we're going to get into a little bit of fan comments here. Cheech just has to step away for a moment. First one from Pat Roy says, "I was one of your biggest fans. Not sure if you remember, but at the display before Stafford 2011, I gave you a good look charm and it almost worked, and you almost beat Tom on Sunday in racing. Thank you for being such an inspiration for me."
It's funny because I have a hard time remembering names. Faces I'm pretty good with, but I tell you the truth, a lot of stuff that people gave me, I still have. And 2011 was a magical time for us with the trucks, and I think that's really what I fed off of a lot too at the trucks is, a lot of fire departments. I have a closet that's just packed full of volunteer fire company T-shirts, and that meant more to me than really going out there and winning, is because people remember you, and the following year they come up and they talk to you, and then I remembered them. That was the biggest part of it for me, and it kind of grew roots there. You grew roots at Stafford especially. We had a lot of support out of Connecticut, and I still have a lot of stuff. I have I wish I could tell you everything I still have for these trucks, but I have a lot of mementos that people gave me, like the stuffed dog that used to ride around in the window. That was given to me by a little girl in Florida. And I zip tied it in the window, and then that thing just took on its own life. And I'm sorry, sometimes I get choked up on some stuff.
It's okay, man.
All right.
There was a young boy, Blake Appleton, out of Florida, that he ultimately passed away of cancer. He was young, and when they brought him into the show, Monster Jam, and that's one thing I got to give Feld and Monster Jam in a whole. When somebody is down on their luck or something's going on, they really take care of their fan base. They really do. And Blake couldn't stand in lines and wait and all that, so they brought him around, and when they brought him over to me, his mom said, "Go ahead, tell him what you told him." And when they come through the gate, they asked him if they wanted to go see Gravedigger, and I believe Dennis might have been there, and he said, "No, I want to see the fire truck." He's like, "That's my favorite truck." And I told that little boy that when that show was over, that was in Tampa. When that show was over, I was going to give him that little dog, and that was probably the most expensive night of my career. And I don't want to take up too much time, but I'll give you guys a story on that. What made it special is we had a rough time. We had a lot of steering trouble, and same thing. We had a big, tight family unit, and JB Chassis and Kyle from BlackRock, they were all down there, and we thrashed on that truck to get it running. And finally, I did not get to see any freestyle runs, and I guess for them to understand the show was lacking, and I just went out there with an open mind, and I just ran that thing, and I ended up barrel rolling it the first, or flipping end over end the first time, blowing the tire out, knocked the shocks off it, bent 4-link bars, and then stupid me would have locked up Planetary. I just laid her back to the wood and over the bus and barrel rolled it. And, all I could think about was the pair of needle nose pliers that were duct taped to my roll cage to cut that dog off and give it to Blake. And that's what I was worried about. They wanted to interview me, and I all but pushed the guy out of the road. And I ran up there, gave him the dog, and ultimately, a few months later, I got a message on Facebook that he had passed away. And that's the special moments doing monster trucks that, a lot of people don't get to enjoy because it's such a little part of the event.
Man, that's still a good story. And we got to speak about fans. We got some fan shout outs here. One of them by Pat Roy. He said,
I just mentioned that one.
Okay, never mind. Who haven't you got?
Alyssa Plasek. How's the shop?
So, I wouldn't trade what I have going on now. We have 2 beautiful children. I have a little boy that's he's just getting ready to turn 3. I have a daughter just turned 5, and we grew up. My brother and I grew up in a different situation. We went to work every day with our dad, and it's funny. I don't really want them to come to work every day, but that's where they want to be, and that's kind of how my dad's situation started out, and then we got into the trucks, and it's funny. You never know. Maybe the evolution takes a turn, and goes nostalgic. You never know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and hopefully one day I would love to see you behind the wheel again, school some people, but we still have a lot of people giving shout outs, like Justin
Spallone.
Yeah, he said, "Good to see you guys on the night. Glad to see Jeremy on here. Miss seeing you and your father come down to Florida. Still remember the first show you jumped behind the wheel in Naples."
There you go. There's another. I know we're running long in this, I'm sure, and you guys, but there's a lot to talk about. We've been quiet for a long time, and the big thing about Florida is that's a whole nother culture down there. Monster Jam, and not that there's anything against monster trucks, but I've never seen places standing room only except Florida State.
They do love their monster trucks, don't they?
Oh yeah, it's a week-long thing, and there you go. That early late '90s, early 2000s, era really led a lot of people into it, and that's where my one and only stadium win was in the Citrus Bowl. That's another moment that is electrifying, and I still get chills when I won freestyle there, and I went out for an encore. And, I never thought I would be able to hear people cheering over the engine of a truck idling. And, and Scott Douglas introduced me again, and it went. And, like I said, Florida has a very special fan base.
I'd love to go to one of those Florida shows, because even just how they talked about it, on Monster Jam on Speed, it was insane. Another fan interaction here. Mario Ortega says, "Hi, Jeremy. Just wanted to say that I have your backdraft nameplate from the qualifying at World Finals 12.
There you go. World Finals 12 was tough. It was a great situation, but it was tough. We had a lot of trouble there, but the people made up for it. You drive all the way out there, and not that other people aren't true fans, but the people that go to the World Finals that time, and Vegas was another special moment. Monster Jam really did a great job at cultivating, these different regions of the country to really bring out the hardcore people. And, Vegas was just crazy. Like, people don't realize that a lot of the city turned over for Monster Jam, and, it was Monster Jam's in town. That's the big thing. Like, you go places and people recognized you.
Another thing I have to say is, when I went to as a fan, you're one of the first people that opened the door to let me take a look at how a team works, and actually being a crew guy, the taste of that. I remember in Pittsburgh when your dad took out input shaft, and it was me, you, and Mike, and your dad trying to, get that going on. And then I think you broke an axle in the Saturday show, but still the hands-on stuff like that. And what this is leading up to, a person, Brandon Lockwich, said, "I saw your dad many times at the Mellon Arena in Pittsburgh. Any memories of the show there?" I always consider that, to me personally, I always thought that was your guys' second home. Because if you guys were in Pittsburgh, you guys were going to definitely be at Washington, PA later that year, because it seemed like every year Dill always booked you there. It didn't matter wherever. It was always going to be you two, you and your dad at Washington if you guys were at Pittsburgh, or some years you guys were on both. How was it racing in Western Pennsylvania?
It's crazy because the Pittsburgh arena there, the Mellon Center, it really had a special place, because that was kind of like when we started racing. That was kind of one of my dad's, always one of his spots, because Serini always sponsored the truck, so they wanted to make sure that Serini's truck was at that event. And the memories of that place. First off, I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, it was usually brutal cold, and the whole parking lot was sloped. So, like, as soon as it got icy, it was a big mess. And, but once again, that was the same thing. Like, they packed that place. I couldn't tell you how many times. And, we used to actually out there, we used to venture out a little more. Like, we used to eat at a little Italian joint downtown that was right by Serini's original Harley Davidson shop, which was open since, I think, like 1924. They've been there. And there was a big church across the street. We used to go over there and eat lunch. That was like a timely thing. Every Friday, when we'd be out there, we'd go over, and it just really, every place is special that we've been to. And I could remember probably about 95% of the places we've been, and probably tell you a story of either complete turmoil or victory, I'm sure.
Another comment here from Briar Smith. It says, "Hey, Jeremy, just wanted to say that you and your dad are some of the greatest people to ever be at Monster Jam. I saw your dad a long time ago in Pittsburgh. Never got to see you run, but you're one I really wanted to see run. Why did you and your dad retire from driving? Miss seeing y'all on the track and kicking ass."
I might get some static for this, but I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people don't really see about monster trucks. And, you see the events every weekend. It really does take a big toll on your family. And, ultimately why we ended up getting out of it, for the most part was, the industry really was pushing towards what it is now. There are a lot of time constraints on getting places and doing things and then just trying to keep up with that. It really started to turn into, from the, hey, look, we're an independent team trying to do this, to this is going to become a legitimate race team situation. And, you're going to have shop space and more spare parts than we ever had. And ultimately, I'm going to say this on live broadcast, but my dad and I were starting to really, I don't want to say lose our relationship, but we were starting to get tough. And we made the decision. When he started, he said that when it wasn't fun anymore, for us, that we would find something else to do, and ultimately that's when we figured out it was time to start the next chapter of life and really move on. And that's what we did. We had to do it. Ultimately in the end, I don't want to lose relationships with family and friends. We really, I guess the ugly part of this situation is you really wear a lot of people out trying to keep stuff running if you're not in an example like where Dan is, where, they built themselves a pretty good support structure. We were just good old boys trying to make it work.
And we have a couple others, speaking of maybe people haven't asked, but how's your dad doing? What is he still in the automotive shop there still?
Oh yes. More stubborn than ever. And, he's doing good up there. And we're actually, honestly, we're working towards, we're getting into some other types of racing. We're just not there yet. We're working on it. Kayla and I's business comes first and his business does. But, that's the thing. And I think I'm going to say one thing to parlay this into another is a lot of people ask me, what do I miss the most about monster trucks? There's a lot. But really what I miss the most is there's no community like it. The fans are great. The people behind the scenes are great. And like you talked, Dan, is, you could just go to a display and walk up and talk to somebody and all of a sudden you're changing tires.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like and one thing I like about people are maybe a little bit timid, but when you get to know someone or talk to them, they seem like they know you for 20 plus years, and it's just start off a conversation. But it's that breaking the ice that's, I think, the real only problem in the monster truck world is when a fan seems timid and don't want to intrude or don't want to trouble you. We always say, we wake up in the morning every day like everyone else, and go from there. But still, I mean, the fan culture, like you said, the camaraderie, everyone's position in the monster truck world is always like a family type deal.
Yeah, and that I think that's what ultimately still has me, I wouldn't say waning towards it a little bit, but that's kind of the situation. Is that's really what I miss the most is you go to a NASCAR race. Like I did some stuff with Pat Suma with Thrasher. We went to Charlotte, and NASCAR drivers, I get it. There's 100,000 people there to see you. But, that doesn't stop Monster Jam from, making you stand out there for 7 hours and sign autographs for 80,000 people, But really, that's the accessibility to this whole industry that really is its key to success is, the driver is no better than the person standing in line looking to get an autograph, even though your situation could be geographically different. it really doesn't make that much of a difference, personality-wise.
So one question that I like to always ask at the podcast is, any pranks, any backstage kind of shenanigans that you've been involved in or you've seen from certain drivers.
Oh boy, there's some stuff on here There's some stuff I can't say on here, but I'll tell you that's the other thing too that a lot of people don't realize. I don't want to see. Maybe I'll get some fire for this. We were in Wilkes-Barre. The first year it ever happened, and Bulldozer was there. And my dad, he's a big jokester. They took 2 trash bags full, and they tied them up on the back of the chassis. So if you get the idea of what that looks like on the back of a bull, and then there, and then we had some fellas that used to run with us, used to help us drive truck. Gary Reniger, his name is. He does a lot of heavy haul work home here for a company, and in the winter he's laid off, and he used to go with us to Texas and Florida, and the stuff on the CB. He used to holler going down the highway. He'd yell, "Hey, southbound! Anybody get killed in that accident?" And he'd holler back, "What accident? That wreck you're driving there?" And there's just so much stuff that went on. Like we had another fella, Tommy Hammer. So we get into Rochester, New York. January, you got to be there on New Year's Day, and it was snowing like 2 inches an hour, and we're just trying to get set up and get to bed, and Gary's out there doing something, and all you hear him is start screaming. There's Tommy Hammer over there, 2:00 in the morning, throwing snowballs at this guy, trying to wind the landing gear down in the trailer, and it's just that's the type of stuff that went on. I'll tell you one quick about Chris Bergeron. We're in Plattsburgh, New York, and that's when him and Jim were still in the same hauler. And it's funny because when they traveled together, it was crazy. That was a crazy situation. But his kids forgot to pack all their bags of clothes just on Chris's side, and so Jim and my dad and a couple other guys. They found a whole bunch of items in a car. I don't even want to say they were clothing, but items. And they found underwear, and they're giving them to Chris. They're telling him, "Here, you can wear these." And then he started talking about chiggers and all this other stuff, and he's running around holding his ears, yelling, "I can't hear you. The chiggers ate my ears off from the underwear you left in my helmet." And the pranks and just the jokes that went on. It really, really was a crazy thing.
We have a comment from Daniel Smith, and it's talking about, I think, your white body backdraft. He said, "I was at the show in Philadelphia 2011, and I never realized how special that body was. That white was so nice. It sucks you broke before you even hit a jump. I could have easily won that show." Okay. I've seen you many shows. I've been, there's a stats there, but can't wait to see you back behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's a funny situation because Philly's a crazy event. Being part of the inaugural event at Lincoln Financial Field, and 2011 is when I had dry shaft problems. And, we fought so much stuff like that. And, not one time did I ever go into an event, didn't think that I was, it's funny because it said easily won that event. There's nothing easy about Monster Jam for sure. But
no.
One thing I think I lack in my genes or whatever you want to say it, but I don't ever go into something not thinking that I can't come out on top. And here's another saying my dad used to say, a blind dog finds a bone every once in a while or something like that.
Right on.
One question I have you ever had any interactions with a guy by the name of Mike Wine?
Oh, yeah. It's funny. We're in, here's a behind the scenes story for you. We're in Houston, Texas, and can't remember the other fellow, but I believe Mike Wine was in the trailer with him. And they turned short under a overpass, and the trailer jumped the sidewalk, and they ripped the side out of a brand new Kentucky trailer. And I'm almost positive it was Mike Wine said it to him. And he opened the fella, you could see the truck through the side of the trailer at the end of the show, and the guy closed the door and locked the lock. And Mike said, he had some crazy, real quick about something about, locking something up that you can see through the window or something like that. But, that's what made it special is a lot of them guys, just their personalities, even off the track, was a big thing.
So we got some hard-hitting questions for you.
Oh, boy.
And I'll start this off, and it's going to be, I think you're a northerner, so I'm just going to straight up say this. Are you for or against eggnog?
Oh, what's this?
Are you for or against eggnog, the drink?
Oh, no, I don't drink eggnog, not a chance.
Yes! Suck it, Norman Brothers. Suck it.
One for us. All right.
But I still gotta drink the garbage.
Yeah.
I don't know how people drink stuff like that.
Yeah, it's terrible. I'll tell you that much.
I have to drink a gallon of it because my Edmonton Oilers lost against the Chicago Blackhawks in the playoff round or the play-in to the Stanley Cup Finals.
So we're having this competition. It's gonna be the Tuesday before Christmas, and the thing is he has to drink a gallon of eggnog within an hour. And if he doesn't, he has to wear a Calgary Flames jersey. But if he does, I have to buy him a Metallica, the event that they just happened in the
S&M too.
Yep. And get him that. The whole box set.
It's not your typical Calgary Flames jersey. It's a Matthew Tkachuk jersey, which Matthew Tkachuk sucks. If you know anything about the rivalry between Edmonton and Calgary this year, you know who Matthew Tkachuk is.
So
it's that's pretty terrible. I don't think I could drink a pint of eggnog, let alone an entire gallon.
See, Nick Davis, it has my back. A man should not be forced to drink eggnog, but I have to, and I'm going to own up to my bet. And this kind of leads us into this next question. What? Sorry, Peach.
Thing is, right here, right now. So I think my internet's going bad.
Well, I'm just too excited.
Okay, so well, Brad was trying to dodge this because he's the one that forced himself in that situation. He was not forced. He was talking trash, and now he has to back up the consequences because he betted himself on the scenario that his hockey team would win, but his hockey team failed him. So he has to face the consequences. There's no forcing, Nick Davis. No, there's no forcing at all. He put himself he made his bed, and now he has to choppy cheech. You listen to me next time, but yeah, he has to lay in his own bed now. So
before we get into the next question, Cody Passmore says hello.
Hi.
Okay. The next hard-hitting question, and comes from our buddy Brandon Culpepper Sr. It's been since day one on the podcast. What is your favorite kind of pie?
My favorite kind of pie? Oh, geez. Really tell you the truth, Kayla's a very good cook, so I got to say apple pie is probably my favorite.
That's number one anyway, so I mean, add that to it. Yeah, a lot of people. We have some apple, pumpkin, chocolate, peanut butter.
Cheech, you're really choppy, bud.
He's revved up.
Pie.
Revved up over pie.
Your internet's taking a dump.
Destroy Frontier.
There's the complaint. Every episode. Okay. I'll ask this then. Since you said you've been to Canada, Dunkin' Donuts or Tim Hortons?
I'll tell you the truth. I think Tim Hortons is better.
Yes.
I really do. It's funny.
Cheech died.
Oh, geez. It's funny because you say about Canada, and I think the best part of going up there was like the culture is totally different. Like we've been to the John Labatt Center quite a bit, and people think states are different from Midwest to Eastern, and you go to Canada, and it's really crazy up there.
See, okay, have you had a poutine?
Yes.
Best food ever, right? Am I right?
Yes.
By the way, Cheech, Nick Davis has a comment for you. Glad to see you shaved your half a stash, Choppy. Okay, we're gonna play a little bit of a word association game with you. We're gonna say, a truck or a driver, and you have to say the first thing that comes to mind. All right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna start off with, let's say, John Seesock.
Sudden impact. That's really the first thing that comes to mind because, but you got to understand the red sudden impact is what comes to mind.
Yes.
That's a long time ago.
Cheech is busy, so I'll go with the next one. Above and Beyond.
Oh, geez. Guido.
Okay.
Because Pat Suma is Guido. I never in my life ever saw a guy have such perfect hair after taking a helmet off. How's that?
Yeah, I saw an interview about him and Dan Rodoni.
Yeah. Yep.
How about Mark and Tim Hall?
Whew. Really tell you the truth, the thing that comes to mind there, really tell you the truth, is two things: legendary and very precise people. I don't know if I'm playing the game the right way, but that's what comes to mind.
That's exactly how you play it. Let's go, Andy Brass.
Whew. Geez, that was before. Really tell you the truth, I don't know that much about the man, so Bigfoot's the first thing that really came to my mind.
How about Tom Mentz?
Oh, buddy. No, I don't think I could say those things on a live show. Tom was a very instrumental man in just my dad and Tom really got along. Really tell you the truth, what you saw of him on the track is the same wild personality he is in person. That's what I can tell you.
Jim Kohler.
Ooh, driven. That's the word, driven.
I know you laughed about this name earlier. Deal Wilson.
Shiny. That's what comes to shiny.
Keep going. I'm just gonna try to think of another one.
Okay. Let's go with Robbie Gray.
Ooh, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Really tell you the truth, blank is what came to my mind at first. Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know who Robbie Gray is, he was the one that owned the West Virginia Mountaineer before R.B. Moeller had it. So I was just thinking names kind of towards that timeline that you like so much.
Actually, tell you the truth, what comes to mind with him when you first said it, and I was trying to put it together in my head to make sure it was the right situation. He's the one that actually had the Lowe's home improvement deal.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and the DeWalt. I remember seeing him with that truck with the DeWalt wrap on it, and I saw him at Lowe's doing a car crash with the DeWalt, and then I think he did a thing with Lowe's too.
Alex Blackwell.
Ooh, baby. I would have to say what comes to mind with Alex is, I can't say the word. I'm trying to think of what it is. he's very calculated. That's the word I got to use because I can't use the other one.
All right. Well, man, it's great to have you on, man. It was cool. Good chat. Man, I missed you on the track, man. It was fun to watch you. Always enjoyed your freestyles, Bradshaw's, and Creedon's. If you didn't destroy a brick wall or destroy an electrical box, it'd be fun to watch them. So, but man, it could be great to see. Hopefully, one day see you behind the wheel again.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not going to rule it out because
never
one
say
thing
never.
I did learn. When I got out of the trucks, it's funny. I used to tell people never. And the guy I was partners with, industrial maintenance there, he's like, look, man, he said, there's only two things in life that are guaranteed. He said, that's to die and pay taxes. He said, don't ever say never because there ain't nothing else that's for not going to happen.
And the only thing I hope is if you drive again, you have to get on the tailgate, Fat Guys Can Fly. you got to get that on there. That's like, I still remember that to this day. I'm a big dude, and that inspired me. It's like, hey, Fat Guys can still fly. We still got a chance.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, when you talk to my dad, he doesn't seem like he's the kind of guy that, you would crack up and talk about stuff like that about. But, he really just always pushes it to the 110% with doing some things because way long ago, I'm going to talk about something real quick, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for this. He used to have on the back of his trailer, way back, it used to be Smack That is what it was called. And you can put the three-letter word that comes after that.
Yeah.
And then another thing was AMF was his big thing. So real quick, I just want to touch on one thing before you guys, we get off here. I really appreciate you guys having me on because, it was a big part of my life. I spent a long period of my life in this industry. And, and I really want to say that I think it was not that the times now aren't any better. I can't speak on that because I'm not involved. But, to the height of what we were doing, it was great. And I just want to tell you guys two things real quick. A lot of people don't think these very, superstars, Dennis and Tom, them guys came from the bottom. And, Dennis, as real as it gets, Dennis gave me some advice. The first time I ever doubled a van stack, it was probably 60, 80 feet. We were talking on the track, and he said to me, he's like, I said, I really want to hit that. I said, but I really don't want to wreck the thing. He said, I'm going to tell you how to hit that. He said, you back up to you smash that container. He said, you hold that thing to the floor, grab high gear. He said, and wait till you hear the RPMs wing. And I said, oh, yeah. Why is that? He said, because that's the last bit of wheel speed you're ever going to get before you get off that ramp. And the other one I can give you, Tom, the same way, no matter how good or, how hard you drive, Tom is probably one of the realest people you'll ever get. He will talk to you all the way up until you're challenging him. And even then, he'll keep giving you pointers. I didn't mean to cut you guys off, but the last one I got to talk about is very instrumental. Very instrumental in what I did. Jim Kohler, we spent a lot of time on the road with them. And, I gotta give it to the man. I never saw somebody work that hard in my life. We were out in Indianapolis. You guys were just talking about the Jamboree coming up. And, they ripped the whole back of a wheel off. I watched that guy TIG weld an entire ring on the back feed of a wheel on his tire lift, water running in the trailer, off the generator, blowing the breaker. Them guys are as real as it gets when it comes down to fixing stuff. One about Chris Bergeron, because I really love the guy to death, and I really love to see him behind the wheel again. That would be something. The thing with Chris, we were in another Jamboree up there in Vermont, and I actually helped take a piston and rod out of Chris's engine for him to run on 7 cylinders. And the craziest thing is Chris always made huge horsepower. And the best thing I think I ever watched, an engine with 7 cylinders run down Mark Hall on the big end of a straight line track. And that was a testament to what kind of horsepower them guys make.
That's insane. Like, the Ram and the Hemis that those guys run and that Dan works on, those things are insane. Is there any, last things that you want to say to your fans out there, the people that have supported you, still even to this day and still remember you now?
Yeah, you know what? The biggest thing I can give you guys is a takeaway. I just went through this. We're involved locally with our VOTEC, which is a vocational school for high school kids. If you think you want to get into this industry, and Dan is a very good example, you got to just get out there. There's a lot of guys from my era that are now, older as I am. And, I'm sure they're still willing to take people in and let them help. And, I feel honored that I'm such a normal person. And I want to say eons ago, people still remember me and follow and are in tune with what we did. But the thing is, I'll maintain this till the day I die. No matter how far Monster Jam pushes it, the independents are never going to let it die that, ordinary people can't just get involved.
Oh. Lindsay Wink said hi, by the way.
See, we can go for hours. We're going to have a part 2, I'm sure.
100%.
Yeah, we can. Yep.
I got a good story, and I'm not going to say it now. We'll keep it for part 2. But, Lindsay Wink's another one. We're in Vegas, and Jim Kohler and Lindsay were probably one of the only 2 people that really talked to me about how to get better on that track.
And we got one more. That Corey Passmore kept on saying Ford Field. Let's go with if you have a Ford Field story before we cut it off, and maybe add more a 2-parter. Talk about Ford Field, and Lindsay Wink wanted to ask, where's your hair went?
Yeah, where'd my hair go? Well, I'm not blessed like him, and have a full head of hair, but I can tell you, I could tell you now. The best Ford Field story I can give you, that was at the height of what we were doing. And Andrew Platchko, they used to put on the big screen when I ran, they put Ridiculous across there. And the show before Ford Field, Andrew said to me, he's like, I'm going to challenge you. I don't think you'll show up to the next show with Ridiculous on the windshield. And, same thing, that word across the windshield really just cemented some things in my mind, and I did it. I put Ridiculous on the windshield, and we went to that show, and that was when they started having some really big crackdowns with safety. I forgot my gloves in the rig, and our crew guy at the time, Guy, couldn't get across the track, so he ran to the concourse, jumped the stall, ran halfway around the building, got the gloves, ran all the way back the same way, and had the gloves back to me before we actually started. So that's the Ford Field story.
That's pretty cool. And once again, we'll go with the number 2. Lindsay also mentioned saying a good interview. Jeremy and his dad are salt of the earth people, whatever that means. But and not because he complimented me, but this was something that I did want to say is, Lindsay's another one of them supernatural talented people, and I think the biggest talent he has is, every racer out there has some type of reservations when you talk to somebody, and Lindsay was definitely not very hard to get to talk to you about driving techniques and some other things. And, it's funny. I just watched the Monster Jam the other day, and he was on, and I'll tell you a quick story about Lindsay because he'll love to hear this. We're in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He come around the racing track. He carried too much speed, I would say, and hit the ramp. And I never in my life, he was the original stoppy guy because him and Jim Kohler touched hood ornaments
I swore he was coming over onto Jim and into me. And, just watching him so collected in that truck, work the throttle and the brake vigorously, and, set that truck down. I really thought him and Jim Kohler were going to meet in the cab.
Hey, he's a fellow prairie boy like I am. I believe it's either Alberta or Saskatchewan. So, hey, it's that Canadian in him, I guess.
It's in your blood. Maybe they had to let you drive a truck and see how much natural talent you have, right?
Hey, dude, I'd go if they could get a seat that fit my fat ass, dude. I totally am in.
Well, that's not a question I'm going to touch on, but I'm going to tell you that there's some guys out there that their seats are probably couches for sure.
Hey, if I run a truck, I'm gonna put on the tailgate, "Fat guys can still fly."
Awesome. Hey, I really appreciate it, guys. The big thing is we have some big stuff going on with our business right now, and I've been moving some stuff around. And I had a moment the other day. I found a piston in my toolbox that I torched, and there's just little things come along, and memories bring up a lot of stuff. And the biggest thing about this industry and the fans alone are how detailed things are, and how quick it takes you right back to where you were standing at that moment.
Yeah, it's always good memories, and well, I mean, like you said, we gotta do a part 2, and there's tons of stories to tell, and a lot of people enjoy it, So once again, thank you, Jeremy, for the stories that you've told and being on here, and it was an awesome time, and once again, thank you.
No, I appreciate it, and I do have parting words for you, Dan. Is it's amazing to see the willpower that you had, because the last time I think you and I talked face to face, you were still working at the Toyota dealership.
Oh yes, I was, and it's a long journey, but I'm still trucking, and sooner or later, it will come, but I just gotta be patient about it, So
that's it.
Just keep on going.
Yeah, and it was very nice to meet you, Brad.
Oh, definitely, and hopefully one day, if you're in the area the area of Pennsylvania that I'm going to be in October, definitely should come down and.
Where is that town at?
Let me double check. It's with Zane Ritsu and his company.
Oh, I know where Lincoln Speedway is, my man. This is big 410 sprint car country. We have a coal company that we do business with, and they got 5 cars sitting in their stall. So I'll have to see if we can make it out there. I didn't know Zane was doing a show out there.
Yeah, he's doing shows with the Renegade Tour. That's his deal. And just before we go, we just want to give love to our sponsors, love to people that support us. I let it roll across the screen so I can read all of them because we have so many now. We got Joyce Sylvester and High Octane Coffee, J Concepts, Back Channel Productions with Nick Davis, 6B Apparel, those awesome crew shirts that Dan has there. Marty Garzin is
$100
Technology, $100 a pop. JB Scale Graphics, and myself, Bradley Shaw Designs. Go check out my website at bradleyshawdesigns.com, the official graphic guy for Renegade Monster Truck Tour and Ritsu Motorsports. So I had to kind of put myself over a little bit there. Again, Jeremy, thank you for coming on. We're going to have to definitely schedule part 2. Maybe have Lindsay on here. You guys can trade some stories back and forth.
I don't think there's enough time for that. I think I'd have to talk to him on the phone first, because we'd be on here quite a lot longer than we are now.
All right, guys. Dan will release the info for our next guest next week. Dan, who do we got coming up on Thursday, my man?
We're going to get actually some mini monster truck guys on. As of right now, it's going to be the American Scout, the Kaiser family. From
Kaiser?
Indiana. They're going to be, yep, and we're going to interview him, and hopefully maybe we can get some more people in, but as of right now, it's him. So let's talk about the mini monster trucks.
All right, guys, and as we always say on Crush This Podcast, keep the right side down and the shiny side up. Peace out, everybody. Until next time.